Okay, I've got a new setup here, so you should have seen what I was going through. Okay, what am I doing here? This microphone out of the way. My audience is on TikTok. That's why I was always looking up that way. But now that I've got a new webcam attached to my phone, it should be a little bit better. So let's see here. Okay, go live. There we go. Never mind. It's just me adjusting everything. If you're on YouTube, my audience is on TikTok. So that's why I'm always looking at the TikTok audience. Every time I get new equipment, I go into old lady mode. It's frustrating the heck out of me. Hello, I am. You're the first one. You're often the first one here. Okay, so I got some new equipment for YouTube. I've got a webcam attached, so if I'm getting all fumbly and my thumb's in the way, it's just because I got some new equipment for YouTube. So that's okay. On YouTube, it's the webcam showing a lot more. I've got all my patio furniture sitting here for everyone to see. That's okay. Anyway, hi, been a while for me. Excellent, welcome back. While we're waiting, I would love to know the ages of your kids while we're waiting, because that kind of helps me. But I watch your lives on YouTube. Oh, you do? Oh, okay. I hardly ever look down at YouTube, so that's why I'm always, because I'm always looking at TikTok, right? Okay. So, how old are your kids? Okay, I'll start the ball rolling. Mine are 33 and 28. How old are your kids? Yeah, all my lives are saved now. They're on YouTube. 7 and 9. That's a nice age, actually. Because they're not teenagers, they're not toddlers. 3 is good. Toddler was not 17 months. Okay. It's not my favorite age. I had a bad back, and they're so physical. I had, it's all the physical stuff I found difficult with my bad back. 7, 2, and 11 months, and about to give birth to twins. Oh my gosh, you're busy. 42 and 40. Okay, so you're where I am. You're in the grandchild phase. Son 13, daughter 15. Excellent. 2 and 3-year-old. Okay, you're busy. 4 and 5, daughters 12 months. You're busy. 20 months and 3 months. Very busy. 3 and 8 months. Yeah. I'm just gonna get going now. Someone said something I want to respond to. So if you're on YouTube, I got my patio furniture here. I got a brand new webcam, so everything's all askew. So sorry about that. The reason I got a webcam is now when I'm talking to TikTok, I'm looking at you too. Whereas before I was always looking sideways. Anyway, it's not perfect. I'm just figuring it out. I'm squirming a lot because I can't get my chair. My wheels are all messed up. Okay, I wanted to address something. Anyway, before I get going, I'm going to say that if you go on the link above, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. They're all on the link above. And because I put it all in bullet form, it makes it easier for you. Now, Newper said, I figured my 3-year-old before he turned 3 was so peaceful. Now it's different. Often, if you're a leader, 3 gets easy. If you're not a leader, 3, they find their power and they take over. That's what happens. 3 is when they can start to reason. That's why my behavior board starts at the age of 3. They can start to, they actually go like this. If you're not a leader and they turn 3, they'll actually go like this. Wait a minute, you're not a leader. I think I will be. This sort of, they can actually process that thought, that whole thought. So that's why. Just set yourself up as a leader. I have a whole course on that if you're interested. That's all in the link above. And if not, the behavior board starts at the age of 3, and that's completely free. Okay. How am I today? Yeah, I got a new webcam, so I'm all kerfuffled. I can't figure out how to change the filter. It is quite frightening. I want to narrow the field in. I can't figure that out. It's probably a way, but what do I know? Okay. Doing well because it was really hot. I don't know where you are. I'm here in Vancouver, so it's kind of September now. It's not really hot here at all. So where are you that it's so hot? My kids were born and raised in Australia, so I know all about heat. Yeah, no wonder my 3-year-old is all over the place now and doesn't listen. Yeah, it's really normal. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's when they can process, wait a minute, there's no leader here. I think I'll do it. Almost literally what they do. My 3-year-old started preschool today. I was a mess. He was fine and didn't want to leave classroom. Yeah, I was a mess too when I dropped my kids off. I sat in the car and cried. Yeah, 12-month-old with tantrums. Yeah, they can start when they're newborns. My son, if he couldn't get on the boob right away, he would have a tantrum. At brand new, they just turn red and start to cry, and and they're going like this, trying to get it, and it's right there. They're like, they get so nuts. But anyway, why'd you move back to the US? I'm actually in Canada. Okay, I'll tell my story really quickly. I'm married in Australia, moved to Australia. I was there for about 20 years with my kids. My mother was aging. I'm the only daughter, and she just wasn't doing great. And she'd had some medical issues. And I thought, why am I in Australia? I was already divorced at that stage. I thought, why am I in Australia? My mom needs me. Because I find when you're young, you tend to move to where you go to where you want to be, where you want to be. As you get older, you go to where the people that you love are. Like love becomes more important than the weather. That you know what I mean? Like So anyway, I said to my ex-husband, I said, my mom needs me. I'm the only daughter. It's just different with daughters. My brother's a great son, but it's just different with daughters, right? And my mom and I were really close. We talked every day, like we wrote emails every single day. We told everything we were thinking. It was just the way it was wonderful. So anyway, I told my ex-husband, I said, look, I want to take the kids back to Canada. My mom needs me. And he said, over my dead body. And I said, well, that can be arranged, but I'd rather you just move with us. So he did. It wasn't easy. It took 7 months. 7 months later, we were all here, though, in Canada. He did the right thing. We always got along, and I just said, look, it's for my mom. I love Australia. I did not want to leave Australia. I did that for my mom. It was a really difficult move with kids. Plus, I was on a one-way ticket because my ex-husband had to come later. And so I didn't have the dad with me. I was a Canadian sounding mom. I had 2 Australian children and a one-way ticket to Canada. I spent a lot of money on an immigration lawyer, and all the paperwork I bought, they said it's useless. Expect to be turned back. And anyway, we were very lucky, but geez, it was a big move. So you never know where you're going to end up. And, you tend to sort of you want to be with the people you love. And my mom needed me. So I had some great years with her before she passed. Okay. How do I get my 3-year-old to come to me when I ask him to? If he doesn't, it just means you're not a leader. Everyone wants to know how to fix kids, how to make kids do things. You don't. You set yourself up as a leader and they'll do whatever you want because they want to please you. It's like, if you like, when you look up to someone, it might be a really good boss or a coach in sports. Don't you want to please that person? That's what this is all about. So anyway, you start with my behavior board. If they're 3 years old, it's completely free, or you can hire me for coaching or buy my course. My course teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader. It's a 5-week course. Anyway, so there's lots of help out. This is all free. My behavior board's free. Then you got to pay for the course and you got to buy me for coaching if you want that extra level. Coaching is just that extra level. But any advice for emotional and sensitive preteen? Aren't they all? Yeah. The better you are as a leader, you're calm. I teach leadership. If you're a calm leader, they tend to be more emotionally regulated. They don't tend to be as up and down. It's just the way it is because they feel safe, sort of. They have a safe place to land. They can tell you anything. They tend to be more calm, more confident, have higher self-esteem, more emotionally regulated when you're a leader. Everything comes back to that. I sound like a broken record right now, don't I? I sound like a broken record right now, don't I? Anyway, but it really is all about your leadership. You lead and they will follow. It's just the way it is. So it's all about your leadership. It's everything. I never tried to fix kids ever. And I mentored troubled teens. I always was working on my leadership skills. That's all I did. That's all I did. I'm really discombobulated tonight because I've got this webcam going here and it's throwing me off. I got some new equipment. So if I keep looking up, then I'm trying to figure out how it's working. Anyway, the webcam is for YouTube because I've got these all saved on YouTube now. It's all Bratbusters parenting, the same thing. No one else is called Bratbusters. Evidently, though, I went on TikTok about a year and a half ago and just blew up overnight. And there was someone out there taking money because people thought it was me. And I didn't get into it, but my clients told me that they'd actually lost some money. So yeah, just make sure you follow the links. If you're looking for my stuff, follow my link. It's in the thing above there. There's not much I can do about that when someone's trying to scam. They're very good at it, right? But I'm Bratbusters parenting. Yeah, actually the name came from, I was mentoring troubled teens and they said, "Oh, Lisa, you're really good at busting brats." So, and I thought that was funny. And and then I thought, well, what a funny name. And I know the word brats in there, which is offensive. I get it, but it's supposed to be funny. And then I thought, well, I like it because if people don't have a sense of humor, I don't want to work with them anyway. So, you can't take everything too seriously. Parenting's messy. Life is messy. Got to go through it with a sense of humor or else you're in trouble. Okay. You got my hands tied with this one, and I'll tell you why. Advice on 3-year-old screaming after putting her to bed. I would let her scream but have another baby. Yeah, my hands are tied with that. It's like, the biggest challenge in my business, the most frustrating clients I work with is the new mom who has a new baby and a toddler. Because there's only so much you can do. If you've got a baby, I always say you let the 3-year-old scream, let them have an absolute fit. But if you've got a baby that they're waking up, it's difficult. I get it. My hands are kind of tied with that one. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Usually we get the baby in a room, like this is what we've had to sort. It's in coaching, we figure out stuff, but we've even put babies in garages before to go through it. And they're watched. There's someone in there with them. Like one of the parents is in the garage, but just to isolate them from this screaming bedtime battle. So yeah, you have to get creative with this stuff. But that is the biggest challenge in my business. Now remember, I deal with troubled teenagers and I deal with children who've been abused and I deal with autism and I deal with all sorts of challenges, but that mom with a new baby and a toddler, because my hands are kind of tied. Oftentimes those moms have postpartum depression too, and they're going through a lot. So I have to be very careful with that, right? How do I know if I need 1 or 3 lessons looking to book a session? Okay, well, it depends on what you've got. If you just want to learn bedtime battles, 1 session. But sometimes other stuff comes up, right? It's one of those things. I always recommend 3 sessions is good if you've got young children, 5 minimum for teenagers. But one time someone hired me for a teenager and I gave them some money back because they only needed 4 sessions. So, I'll be very fair about it. If you hire me for 3, and I say, okay, 1's all you need. But usually it's not just 1 because we go through so many things, right? But some people want to just take me up for a test drive and just buy 1 at a time and then they upgrade. The problem with that is I pace it out according to how many sessions you have. So you're never going to get as good a results if you what I mean? If you just hire me for 1 session, then you later on upgrade, I lose momentum. But whatever, that's your call. Usually 3 with young children, 5 with teenagers. That's the general idea. Which session do you recommend to learn how to be a better leader? Well, the sessions are all just coaching, one-on-one coaching. The course is really good. Though that course, if you're just going through normal parenting stuff, tantrums, bullying, they don't respect you, that course I have is 5 weeks. It's great. The results are great. If you've got extra stuff or you're really struggling or you and your spouse are at each other's throats, that might be coaching. Sometimes people will do the course and then they'll hire me for 1 session afterwards because they'll say, I realized it was just something, just next level, because everyone has something different going on. How much personal attention do you want? You're on your own with that 5-week course. I'm in there answering questions, but it's about the course. Like you can't give me your life story and then I'm going to assess it. And, that's coaching, is that really individual stuff. But yeah, you can ask me lots of stuff. Lots of people say, well, this didn't work, that didn't work. So I answer questions in the course, but the coaching is one-on-one with me. That's my favorite thing to do, coaching. My second favorite thing to do is this, but it's all the same thing. I'm talking to parents, right? I'm mothering. I love mothering. All sessions are online. Oh, I've had clients in New Zealand. I remember a country I'd never even heard of. It wasn't Abu Dhabi. It wasn't Dubai. There's another one. Like I've got clients from all over the world. What country? What starts with a Q or something? Am I off with that? Am I wrong? So yeah, I've learned a lot about the world from people all over the world. So yeah, they're all done. I don't do anything in person anymore. I used to do a lot because I used to do local morning shows and TV shows as the expert. I'd just come on and give advice, right? So then local people would see me because it was local TV. Quat- uh, Qatar, whatever. Could have been. Yeah, could have been. I'm not sure though. Okay. Okay. How do I get my 21-month-old to stop screaming over stuff he wants or doesn't want? 21-month-old screaming over stuff he. I don't know what to tell you. He wants or doesn't want. So he just screams. Just kind of ignore it. Make sure screaming never works. But it's a stage. I'm going to read out my 5 top toddler tips because whenever someone hires me for older kids and they have toddlers, they never even mention the toddlers. No matter how crazy they are, they understand they're just crazy. Okay. So these are my 5 top tips if you have a toddler. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is you enter their world to connect with them. You don't connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You play as they play when you're trying to connect with them. Number 4 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. To some of them, sticking their hands down their diaper and smearing poop on the wall is completely normal to some toddlers. They just haven't got common sense yet. They are crazy, but more it's just they're not sane yet. They haven't developed sanity. Okay, and number 5 is stop with the mini therapy sessions. When you're disciplining them, you're explaining something to them. You know you shouldn't do that because you hurt someone's feelings. They may be looking at you and parroting you, but they're not listening at all. Toddlers are about consistent corrective actions. That's how you correct behavior. Consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It's actions. That is their world. Um, I said earlier, number 3 was enter their world to connect with them. You also enter their world to discipline them. Why did I read that out? Yeah, 21 months. They're just going to scream. Something I wanted to read yesterday, and I didn't read it. I thought, oh, I should have read that. Someone asked something. And I thought, shoot, I should have. Oh, I know, I'll just read this generally. There are 4 stages to parenting in that you are a different parent for these 4 stages. The kids will go through a lot more stages than these. They'll probably go through 40 of them. But as a parent, you'll go through these 4 stages. You'll go through one stage with your 0 to 15-month-old. That is all the cuddling, the nurturing, loving them up and all that stuff. There's not much teaching going on them. And then you've got the toddler stage. My least favorite. It's very physical. They're all feet, no brains, cute as a button. But anyway, they're 16 months to 35 months. That's where the training starts, and it's consistent corrective action. So all of a sudden, you're becoming a leader. You're starting to exercise your leadership, and a lot of that is fun too. You're cuddling the baby. Now all of a sudden, you're playing with the toddler a lot. They learn more through fun than words. And then you've got the child stage, 3 to 12. My course is for 3 to 12-year-olds because you are a very similar parent in that age group. There's different stuff going on. Obviously, a 3-year-old is very different from a 12-year-old, but you're the same kind of parent. Okay, you're there for guidance, but you also want to let them make some mistakes, let them try stuff, but you're very consistent with the behavior board. So if you have a rule, then there's a consequence. Okay, they understand that you can reason with them. So your parenting style is very similar. Then we get into the teen years, 13 plus. All of a sudden, you got to start letting go. Don't sweat the small stuff, only sweat the big stuff. And even then, be very careful with that. You work more on connecting with your teenagers. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't tell them what to do. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. They already know it anyway. And then number 2, most important skill with teenagers is you negotiate everything. So your parenting style goes through those 4 stages. And that was a lot. Any advice for delivery of a high-risk pregnancy? Oh my gosh, no. No, 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 no. I'm not a doctor. I would never give you any advice. But I will give you some advice when that baby's out. The most important thing for a new mom and for the whole family, especially in those first 3 months, is mom and baby happy and healthy. Don't worry about anything else. Those hormones are flying. You're getting used to that new baby. You're bonding with it. Mom and baby happy and healthy. That's about it. How do you deal with tantrums in public? The exact same way I deal with them at home. I'm no different when I'm in public. You've got to be consistent as a parent. The only thing I do differently is if there's somewhere dangerous or if there's somewhere like in a restaurant or a church where you don't want the tantrum disturbing other people, you drag them out into a parking lot or put them in the car somewhere where they can, and then you ignore them. But you still don't look at them or talk to them. You just move them. That's the only difference. Um, I was proud, like when my daughter never had them, but my son did. When my son would have a tantrum in public, I was almost like this. Come on, everybody, watch, because I was proud of how I dealt with it. I'll tell you the story, the mall story with my son. It's such a good one. He had one more tantrum after this. He had more with his dad, but anyway, his dad was the pleaser. I was the leader. That's usually the way it goes. As long as you're on the same page, it's just fine. They only need one leader. Anyway, we were in the mall. I don't even know why he did this. He's 3 years old. He just decided to have a tantrum. Who knows why? We weren't even talking. I hadn't said no to anything. It made no sense. Of course, tantrums never make sense. Anyway, so he started having a tantrum. I pulled him off to the side because there was stairs right there. Then I pulled out my nail file and I'm just waiting. It's important that they see that you're waiting. You're just waiting. You're not on your phone. You're not looking like you don't even notice. He knew me. So I'm just waiting, filing my nails. This was the funny part. It was a very busy, loud mall. And all these young moms were going past and they were coming up to me because once someone starts to come up to you, tons of people do. So the first one that came up to me, and then tons of people started coming up to me. And because I was laughing and chatting with people, so I guess I looked friendly. I don't know. Anyway, so the young moms started coming up and they said, oh, you should give him a hug. Talk about his feelings. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I'm like, keep going, whatever. Okay, fine. But the grandmothers and the moms with older kids kept coming up to me saying, good on you. You know what you're doing. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, it didn't last that long. It wasn't a huge tantrum. He finally gets up and I said, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. There's no point whatsoever. Tantrums are none of your business. When they're having a tantrum, that is their brain processing. I'm not going to get everything I want, when I want, how I want it. They have to learn how to process that all by themselves. You cannot go into someone's brain and self-regulate their brain. That is just garbage. I can't believe people talk like that. I know I don't look at what anyone else says, but my clients tell me all this time. Everyone says to self-regulate tantrums with your children. Yeah, right. Anyway, you can't do it. It's impossible. The more you interrupt a tantrum, the more you're stopping their process and they're learning how to get out of them all by themselves. Do you really want to have to go in when they're 16 years old? Let's get your skull open and regulate that tantrum. The sooner they learn how to regulate the tantrums all by themselves, they eventually learn they don't work. And then they just stop having them. Kids only do what works. By the time they're about 3.5 to 4, they only do what works. It's just the way it is. They're smart that way. We're not like that. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Kids don't. They're very adaptable. Oh, you're asking about a bug flying and biting your 18-month? They'll just forget about it eventually. There's not much you can do with that. I wish someone helped me self-regulate when I was a child. Here's the thing, is if ignoring a tantrum is going to damage a child, you got bigger fish to fry. You're not meeting that child's needs. There's something else going on there. If that child is in some way damaged by having a tantrum ignored, which is just a loss of control, right? If that's damaging that child, there's a lot more going on that's damaging that child. It's not about the tantrum. How do you teach manners to a toddler? You really don't, but you control everything that they do. What I mean by that is if you're grocery shopping with them, they sit in that seat. My kids were in that shopping cart till they were 16 years old. They wouldn't have known what freedom was like when we were grocery shopping. They had no clue. So you can control that. So, and I had a goodie bag. They had a little goodie bag that they only got when we were grocery shopping. The second they got out of that shopping cart, the goodie bag went away. And it was different every single time. I always changed around all the little toys, the drink, the treats, all that stuff. So I managed it. Also, they never got any food or drink unless they were sitting in their high chair. Ever, ever. They wouldn't have known how to walk around with food or drink. They had no clue that that was even possible. So I managed it. That's how you teach manners. You just control the situation. Oh, well, he won't eat. He's always getting up from the table and walking around. I mean, that's on you. You've taught him that. You've taught him that's okay. 19 months old with not many words. Lots of kids aren't talking much till they're 3. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're worried, I'm not a pediatrician, so if you're worried about it, take them to the doctor. But lots of kids aren't saying much until they're 3. My kids never shut up. They were like me. We had a very loud, chatty household. So yeah, they never shut up. I look back at old videos and I'm like, oh my God, they were just like me. Talk constantly. Well, I can't help you as an adult how to regulate your emotions as an adult when overstimulated. Can't help you with that. Like I don't give adult advice. I give parenting advice. My lane is parent-child relationships, and also it's a lot of marriage counseling. I'm not a marriage counselor, but there's a lot of that comes up in coaching. Only in coaching. Sometimes I've been hired by people who fight so much when during the session it's like, hello, I'm here, you're wasting your money on me. So yeah, it's a big part of it, because a lot of the reason why people divorce is because of parenting, right? So I can help with that. And but yeah, if I can solve their parenting problems, often yeah, I can also fix the marriage if that is why they're not getting along. My kids didn't shut up either. Yeah, my kids never shut up. I look at old videos, I'm like, "Oh my god, they were like mini me's." God, we all talked a lot. Whew. Oh, 5-year-old lying, say no lying on the behavior board. Use my behavior board, that's free in the link above there, and just put down no lying. And also, pardon me, put in brackets, I will decide when you're lying, so they can't argue it. 5 years old, probably wouldn't come to this, but when they're older and they say, "But I wasn't lying," say, "Yeah, this time you weren't, but I'm sure I haven't caught other times you were. So I'm just gonna call that a lie." You see, you gotta just decide things really quickly. That's why you put that on. And every time he lies, then there's a consequence. Look at the behavior board, it explains how to do that. And you only go up to 3 behavior boards, it explains all that. You can't go past that, I've never used one. I just invented that to teach you how to start becoming a leader. It's just one step. 1 week is step 1, week 2 is step 2, week 3 is step 3. Once you get past that, in the course by week 4, you don't even use behavior boards much anymore. Everyone wants that. That's where everyone wants to be. But you got to learn how to do this first. You have 1 rule per week. The rest of the stuff, just let it fly. People say, what about all the other stuff that's going on? I'm like, so that behavior board is all you're focused on. The kids are learning that, hey, wait, when they put something up there, they mean business. It's going to happen. That's why you only pick 1 rule per week. If I was to go in and take charge of your kids, everything would be an issue day 1. Everything I would do. Take me about 2 to 3 days to get things sorted out. But I have no history with them. And plus I'm level 10 with what I teach. I know how to lead. And a lot of it is fun. You got to be fun. You got to mix it up. You got to make sure the kids' needs are being met. A huge need that children have that parents often forget about because the kids are so rowdy is they need to have fun. You want to be part of that. You want to be the source of a lot of that fun too. You're not entertaining them juggling all day long, but you learn how to connect with kids and have fun with them, and it's another leadership skill. Like I never disciplined my kids. By the time they were 3.5 to 4, they were self-disciplining. So it was just fun. And if they did ever do anything I didn't like, I'd just go, excuse me? And that was all it took. So. Okay. My husband has been raised the traditional way of discipline with smacking and yelling. What to do? Okay. Well, I don't know what you mean by traditional, but there's two different, very different camps, extremes. The first one is the old-fashioned authority style parenting. That's the old my way or the highway. I'm in charge. You listen to me because I'm your parent. Blah blah blah. That's the old fad. Not a bad way to parent. I didn't do that, but it's not bad because the teenagers will rebel. They're usually good when they're young, and then the teenagers will rebel. Then they'll come out the other end okay, and they'll respect their parents for putting in the effort. The trendy new style now, and I saw it coming in 30 years ago, and I thought, oh my God, we're in trouble. And I call it the please your parents style. Don't ask me about any specific methods. Like it's just, I put it under the please your parent umbrella. It's the type of parent who has the participation awards. They are more likely to go into school and tell the teacher what their individual child's needs are and that they want them to be met. They try to solve all of their kids' problems. They also are yellers. Pleaser parents are yelling. Yeah, they're yellers because the pleaser parent style doesn't work. So they end up yelling. Those teenagers will wipe their feet all over them and they'll come out the other end, self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And they'll never respect their parents. So I'm exaggerating. Yes, I'm exaggerating. I don't do either one of those. I'm a leader. I want kids to feel great about themselves when they're with me. That gives me all the power. I'm the leader. When you make kids feel great about themselves, give them a voice, meet their needs, manage their wants. As a leader, they feel safe with you. They feel good about themselves. They like themselves. You're the source of that. You lead and they will follow you anywhere. They'll want to please you. Now, by the time they're teenagers, you don't want that. You want teenagers to be their own leaders, right? Like I trusted my teenagers 100%. That's why they never had curfews or anything. I trusted them. So you want them to be their own leaders, but you're there for backup and they'll tell you everything because they trust you. You're a safe place to land. That's leadership. You never really have to discipline. You meet their needs and manage their wants. And you don't even really have to discipline once you get that. Getting there, getting respect, getting yourself set up as a leader is really hard work. I did it when my kids were little, then sailed right through the teen years. But getting it is hard work. Maintaining it is a piece of cake. Put in 3 to 6 weeks with younger children, 3 to 6 months with teenagers, especially if you're at war. And it's doable, but it's hard work. That's what I teach. I teach parents how to do this. It's hard work. And then you just kind of sail along after that. I could tell you story after story after story of clients who said, you're right, it was hell, but now it's great. Plus, you're closer to your kids. You want to be friends with your kids, but you're still a parent. That's your number one role. But you want to be friends. You want to have fun with your kids. It was the most fun I ever had was parenting. We just laughed all the time. It was fun. Okay, so if you and your husband are arguing about parenting styles, say, I'll tell you what, let's flip a coin. We'll do it your way for 3 weeks. I will, and then if it's working, great, we'll keep going. Well, then if it doesn't work, we'll do it my way for 3 weeks. And you got to defer. You got to agree to this, like sign, I won't go into it, but I get like verbal contracts going with couples. I won't get into what happens, but yeah, there's like consequences if they don't defer to them and let them be a leader for 3 weeks. So that's what we do. And then you see when parents start getting results with my way, then both parents get on board. Because they go, oh yeah, this works. Yeah, we want to be a leader. We don't want to hit or yell or anything. I never yelled. I was never yelled at either. You don't need to. When you're a leader, there's no need to. How do you handle toddlers screeching? I don't know. They're just toddlers. They're going to do what they're going to do. Don't try and figure them out. Just ignore it. Are both parents required during coaching? No. I would say it's about half and half. I'll get both parents and then the half the time I won't. Sometimes mostly the mom, but sometimes I'll just get the dad too. Or they might be divorced and, whatever. But no, they don't have to both be there. No. Yeah, we cut some real fun deals, I'll tell you. Oh my God. Some of the stuff that we've done, I can't tell you here. It's humiliating. But we cut some real fun deals. And so that's part of it. You got to have a sense of humor. If you're going to work with me, you got to have a sense of humor. So yeah, some of the stuff we've come up with, you can just imagine, right? Oh, just thinking of one in particular. Oh my God. God, they were funny. Okay. Okay. Have you ever thought of writing a book? Yeah, maybe one day. I just don't have time. So I don't have time at all. What is your advice on a 2-year-old who refuses to eat? Well, I can't talk about nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm not a doctor in any way. So I can't talk about nutrition. But I can tell you what I did with my own kids. My son, in particular, was a fussy eater. He didn't really care about food. And but what I did was I'm really into health food, right? Like, so we never had junk in the house. I call it filler. It's not even what I call food. Anything packaged is basically filler. It's not really food. So my kids had the choice. You can have this healthy food or that healthy food. They know there was no crap in the pantry to eat. Like they knew if they didn't eat that, they weren't getting ice cream or cookies or anything, unless I made them. And I baked everything from scratch, and all of my stuff was full of healthy stuff. They would go out and eat cake and pizza, and it all tasted so weird because when I made it, of course, it was packed full of spinach and flax seeds, and I was throwing all this healthy stuff into everything I made. And so yeah, they didn't have a taste for sugar or salt. They just had to eat healthy. Like that was sort of the way it was. So, and then eating was no problem because they were just kind of eating healthy stuff, right? If they think there's ice cream or potato chips in that pantry or hanging out behind the scenes, they're more likely to not eat the healthy stuff. And also, toddlers generally, and I'm not a doctor, but I think we tend to think they need more than they do. And they also go through spurts where some days they don't eat much at all, and other days they eat tons. Teenagers are like that too, because they go through massive growth spurts. Teenager will just not eat much at all. Next thing you know, the whole fridge and freezer's empty. And my son was like that. He shot up from 5'6" to 6 feet in about 6 months. So he, 1 inch per month. He ate a lot in those 6 months, and he wasn't a big eater generally, except in those 6 months. I think he was 15 or 16. Geez, he shot up. How do you establish leadership early on? I actually wrote it down. And it sounds kind of silly, but think about it. I'm going to tell you what it is. My 5 top toddler tips. One of them, I think it's number 3. One of them is number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. So when you're playing with your toddler, do not take a 3-year-old to the nail salon to connect with a 3-year-old. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. The better you get at entering their world, you watch them play and play like they do. I got down on the ground and played with my kids. I mean, my head was down, I was down on the ground with them. And they just start to look at you differently. When you connect with them, they start to want to please you. That's where it starts. It starts in the toddler years. So yeah, play in their world. Connect with them in their world. And then when you do discipline the stuff that you want to stop, get them to stop doing, it's consistent corrective actions. And you're very serious, you're very consistent, you're very calm. You almost whisper. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because that's when I was disciplining. This is how I talk when I'm disciplining. I say, I didn't like that. Tell you what we're going to do. And then I would say, okay, that's going to happen. And then I would forget it. And it was just done. Like then I didn't go on about it. They already know what they've done wrong. They already get it. Is the coaching like a Skype session? So you meet oh no, I have nothing to do with kids. You just tell me what's going on and I understand kids. Oftentimes parents will tell me what's happening and I'll say, no, it's not. No, because kids don't act like that unless this is happening. So, but yeah, I just talk to parents. I teach parenting. I don't need to observe your children at all. It was only once recent. Sometimes I do. I do the fly on the wall, or I'll tell parents to send me a video, and the next session we'll watch it together. And I'll watch something and I'll say, watch that. Did you see that eye contact? So what the parents think is happening is, because that's the only time I'll do it, is if I think the parents are standing by what they believe is going on. And I'll say, I can tell it's not. From everything you've said, I know that's not what's happening. So what I'll do is we'll watch the video together and I'll say, and I'll pause it and I'll say, see that? You see the way that side eye that kid just gave you? That means this. That means it's the only time I ever do that. It's rare that I ever do that. Another time I did it was really funny. And I said to the parents, they said, well, the older one's always beating up the younger one. And then they went on about it. And I said, I think it's the younger one is the problem. And they said, no, he's just a little angel. And I said, I want to be a fly on the wall. And we had a webcam. And pardon me, I was just sitting there on their computer. The kids didn't know I was watching, and I was just sitting there watching. And then I yelled out, I said, okay, that's enough. Sure enough. And I told the parents exactly what I saw. It was the young one. I saw a movement under the table. That young one had kicked the older one. And, and the parents were just oblivious to it. They had no clue what was going on. It was hilarious. God, we had fun. Got to have a sense of humor with all this stuff. It's funny. Life is messy. Parenting's messy. Yeah, back to that healthy food. I'll tell you a funny story. My son came home. He'd been at someone's house. He was really little. And I made everything from scratch. Like I made pizza dough, made the sauce from scratch. I made everything. Oh, sometimes I'd buy the can. But I would puree spinach and put it in with the pizza sauce. So I was always sneaking stuff in. He came home and he says, oh, wait a minute, my webcam doesn't look very good on. Sorry, I've got a new webcam and I just look like I'm a talking head. Sorry on YouTube. Sorry about that. Anyway, and he said to me, he says, their pizza sauce was really weird. He said it was red, whereas mine was brown, because when you puree spinach and put it in tomato sauce, it turns brown. He thought that the red sauce was weird and the brown sauce at home was normal. Anyway, what time is it? 41 minutes. Yeah, sorry about that. Could I change that somehow? Oh, sugar. I've got a light. Just a sec. Let's see if it works. I feel bad about YouTube. I'm no good at YouTube. I'm trying to figure it out. No, the light. I need to charge it. I've got so much equipment going on here. I used to be able to move my laptop. It's got so many wires. It looks like an octopus. It's got so many wires coming out of it now. Sorry, YouTube. I know I'm just a talking head, but that's because I got a new webcam, so I'm just learning. Okay. Now, I also want to say, oh shoot, I'm going to turn another light on. I also want to say that just because I say I'm really into healthy stuff, and that was just the way I did it, I'm not saying you should be like that. Most people are not going to be like that, okay? That's not normal. The way I live, I don't even want to tell you what I do now. Well, I'm a gluten-free health food vegan, so no one can feed me. Like I don't eat anything in a package or anything. So like I wouldn't eat fake meat or anything. Like I don't look for that kind of, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm radical. So I'm just telling you that's how I did it with my kids. But I'm not saying you should. I was an extreme. So that, and I hate cooking too. God, I hate cooking. But I made everything from scratch. Anyway, I'll tell you a funny story too. I made ravioli from scratch. I mean, I made the dough. I rolled it all out, made ravioli, and it took me all day. And then I fed it to my family. And then they said, can we have some more? It took me all day to make that. I thought it was a lot to make that. And then they asked for more. I never made it again. So anyways, it was just my choice. You don't have to be like that, right? What you asked about someone. I don't know who that person is. I don't know who that. I'm assuming it's a parenting person. You asked about someone called Ruby Frank. I do not look up any other parenting people at all. I've never read a book on kids or parenting ever. Everything I've learned, I went right to the source. Kids taught me everything I know about kids. I went right to the source. So, because I've worked with hundreds of kids, so there where I learned everything. So I don't know, and I stay out of that. Yeah. If anyone starts to tell me a name and what they're teaching, I don't listen because I don't want to criticize someone. So the only person I ever have seen is that Super Nanny, because I was offered a couple times now to do a national TV show on the Super Nanny style with teenagers because I specialize in troubled teens. And they said, well, look at what she does. It's going to be like that. And she's the only person I've ever looked at. And no, I don't know anybody else. Yeah, I didn't do it because I said, you know, I can't, because if you were to embarrass a teenager on national TV, they'd probably hang themselves. So I said, no one responsible would do that. And and they never did get that show going. Not many people specialize in teenagers, and the few who do wouldn't do that. So anyway, but that was the only other person I've ever looked at was her. And we're very different. And that's okay. Like she's, for one thing, she doesn't have kids, and she deals with younger children, Whereas my specialty is teenagers and I work backwards from there. She knows how to get respect. She knows what she's doing. It's just a different style from mine. Okay. So yeah, she knows what she's doing. What was your previous jobs? I've never worked with kids. I've only volunteered with them. I was 11 years old and I started volunteering in daycare centers. Then I became a babysitter at 11 also. And I started being known for handling difficult kids. All the kids wanted me. I was the babysitter who never watched TV. I played with the kids and connected with them, and I got good results with them. Then I started volunteering in hospitals, a lot more daycare centers, and then schools. And then I got some clearance from the government to go into homes and help moms and dads who were struggling, different things like that. And then I started mentoring troubled teens. They were the ones who told me, they said, you got to teach this, Lisa. No one talks to us like you do. And I just get kids. I just get them. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this life I am horrible at. But I just get kids. I just get them. So 51 years of working with kids, all volunteer. I've spent a lot of time in psychiatric wards with teenagers, and yeah, I just get it. I just do. I don't understand adults, except when we're talking about parenting. But yeah, I just get kids. I think I was kind of born to do this, to be honest. And it was the teenagers who told me to do this. So I wouldn't have done it probably otherwise. Would you ever open up a daycare center? Oh my God, no, 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 no. Can't think of anything more horrific. No, it's not my kind of thing at all. I'm a parent-child relationship specialist. And when I worked with kids, it was one-on-one. I mothered them. I'm the mother, parent, child relationship, or mentor, or leader, not teacher, not daycare worker. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. It's a very different role. I'm the parent role. That's what I teach, parenting only. Could I do daycare? Yeah. Do I want to? Nope, not in a million years. I don't even want to tell you why, but when I'm talking to my teacher clients, they know why. They know why I would never teach. And I have a very, very standard answer for that. I talk very different in coaching. I let a lot more fly in there. But yeah, very specific reason why I would never do that. I don't have much of a filter, but I do on here. I'm a little bit careful on here. How'd you learn to be so patient? Because it just is easy for me. It works. It just works. It's easy to do what you know works. Because I know how well it works. That's all. And I always understood kids. When I was 11 and volunteering in daycare centers, like, who does that? I look back on that. That was weird. Like, why did I do that? Anyway, but I loved it. And they were asking me, how do you get them to respect you? And they do whatever you say, and they think you're great. I said, I don't know. I didn't know how to explain that. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was going to be a child psychologist because I thought that's what I should do. And then I got kicked out after a week because I asked too many questions. And because what they were saying was garbage. That was 42 years ago. I'm sure they've improved by now. But it was very much that holier than thou, that authority figure kind of patronizing kind of stuff, trying to trick kids. But I was so stupid. I don't do any of that. And that was horrible. So anyway, they couldn't get rid of me fast enough. And the other students started asking me questions about kids and not the teachers. So they couldn't get rid of me fast enough. You know what I should have done? I should have held out. They would have paid me double if I'd said, I'm not leaving. So it was funny. Thank God I never did that. Oh my God. Oh, torture. Okay. This is one of those things, I don't have a big opinion on it, but I have some comments on it. How do you feel about not putting kids in school until kindergarten, like no pre-K or VPK or whatever you call it, all that pre stuff? So you know what I did with my kids? Once they were up on their feet, I went to the gym every day. I still do, but I went to the gym every day when my kids were little. No, only once they were up on their feet, because I had no family around or anyone to look after my kids. So once they were up on their feet, and walking comfortably. I didn't want to put crawling babies into a daycare at the gym. It's just gross. So once they were up on their feet, we were off to that gym every single weekday. It was closed on weekends. And they got their social skills that way. I do think it's important. Also, I had them in gymboree. So when they were babies, and I was always out with them, play groups, always out with my kids doing stuff. But that gym daycare kind of got them set. They learned social skills in there. They learned what to do, what not to do, how to get on with other kids. So I think it's kind of important, but it doesn't have to be formal. It can be just play groups, or I had my kids socializing from a from babyhood. I'm very social, so I would have gone nuts just not having them, out socializing with me. 'Cause I had no family. I took them everywhere. But that was so fun. Us moms at the gym used to laugh because that we do. I used to teach aerobics too, so we'd be walking back to the daycare. Well, it took us an hour to get back there, just walking until we were always laughing at how slow can we walk to pick our kids up, and they were having a great time. My son used to cry on weekends because I'd go to the gym without him, but the daycare was closed there. He loved it. My daughter, not so much, but he loved the gym daycare. That was his social life. Oh, what to do when a toddler's getting into everything at someone's house that's not baby proof. You can't enjoy yourself when you're out with a toddler. You have to just follow them around and police everything they do. That's it. That's your job. That's why I didn't like the toddler years. They're my least favorite age, toddlers. I liked them when they were at home because my house was completely childproof, so I never had to say no to them. But when we went out, all I was doing was chasing them around. That's your job. You don't let them wreck stuff or anything. I had friends who would do that. They'd come to my house and they'd let their kids walk around with food. I mean, oh, gross. Do you have a book? No, I've never written a book. No, that's not true. I wrote a potty book, but that's now a course. So yeah, I don't have a parenting book. Maybe one day I will. I'm lousy at writing. Maybe I'll hire someone to do that one day. My mind is spinning. I got so much stuff going on. My whole life really changed a year and a half ago. I went on TikTok and blew up, and everything started flying at me because everyone wants your audience, right? I said no to everything because everyone wanted my audience. You get offered a lot of money too because people want that. They want access to you. I've done nothing, no collaborations with anyone. I mean, maybe one day I will, but I'm very protective of you guys. And I'm not gonna let someone else come on here. Okay. Advice for smooth preschool transition. The word transition sort of says transitions are difficult. Change is difficult. We're like that too. You can't make everything smooth. And I never wanted to. I wanted my kids to learn how to be uncomfortable, throw them into new situations, and be uncomfortable. I wanted to set them up for life because of that. That's what you're doing. You're saying, yeah, it's difficult. Go do it anyway. But what I did do was I would take them to the school ground and we'd maybe go with a friend and they'd play in the playground at school or wherever. So they were used to going there. We'd pack a lunch and everything. But basically, I didn't try and protect them from everything. That's that pleaser style. I know they want to roll out the red carpet for them. I'm not saying you're like that, but that's that pleaser style parenting that's so trendy right now. They want to make everything so easy for their kids so their kids never know how to deal with any challenges at all. That's why I always say that the pleaser style raises self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues because you're trying to make everything so easy for them. You can kind of help them out a little bit, but like if my kids were up against something at school that was going wrong, I would say, well, what are you going to do about it? And then we'd talk, and I always wanted them to learn how to solve their own problems. I never was one to go in and save the day kind of mom. Um, I only did it twice. I only went to school, and one of the people at school was fired because of something I caught, and the other one was a high school teacher. And my kid, I always said to whenever they'd complain about something at school, I'd say, "Do you really want me to go to school and deal with it?" And they'd always say no. But the first one I had to, it was a bad one. And then the second one, it was little school, like grade school. And then the second one, my son was in high school, and I said, "Do you really want me to go and talk to the teacher about this?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I went, "Whoa." And when the teacher saw me coming, you could see her. I'm sure she just about filled her pants when she saw me coming. She was caught cheating. She did something to my son. And she was caught when she saw me coming, because she thought, "Oh my God, that's his." I was around school all the time working with the difficult teenagers. So she knew who I was, and she saw me coming towards her, and she just about crapped her pants. And yeah, she was very, very backtrack. I never even said much to her. I just let her know that we knew what she was doing. So, but yeah, it's the only two times I ever interfered in school. And because they were like dirty teachers, they're not all good people, right? And another time, I didn't do this for me. I did this for other moms. We used to have in Australia, they have what they call baby nurses, and they work out of like pharmacies, or they might have their independent little, like an office, and you go in and they're provided by the government. It's a free service. And you go in with your babies, and they measure them, and they do milestone stuff, and they can give them immunizations, stuff like that, right? And they're called baby nurses. They're actually registered nurses, but it's a baby nurse clinic. And they're often like, they're only there at Tuesdays at a pharmacy, Tuesdays, or they call them chemists there. They're only there for like at Tuesday from a certain time. Anyway, there was this one, and she ran, I just love telling this story. I love justice. I don't like seeing dirty people get away with stuff. Like, I was never bullied. And if I saw bullying happening, I used to get involved. I don't like dirty stuff. So, and I got a mouth on me. So anyway, so I heard about this baby nurse. Now, I'm not I already had tons of experience with kids when I had my son. And so I didn't need to get him weighed, or I didn't want to get him weighed or anything. So, but anyway, I thought, well, I kept hearing these stories about this horrible, awful baby nurse making moms feel like crap. So I thought, I got to go and meet this woman. So I took my son in, and he was about 18 months old. And I took him in there, and I said, "Yeah, we're just here for our shot." But usually I got it done at the doctor's office. So I said, "Yeah, we're just here for this immunization." And then she goes, "Well, I have to weigh him and do this." My son did not want to be measured. He had to stand up against the wall, and he just wouldn't do it. And he sat on the floor and sort of cried a bit, but it wasn't really a tantrum. And she goes, "Oh, does he do this often?" And I thought, "Oh, yippee, yippee, I got the bad one. I got her in a mood." So she goes, "Does he usually do this?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "Well, tantrum like that." She goes, "Have you had him assessed? Maybe he's got some brain damage." So I said to her, I loved it. I was like in my element. So I said to her, I said, "That's not, you should see him when he really has a tantrum. That was nothing." And I said, "Your boss will be hearing from me." I said, "I'm an experienced mother. I know what I'm doing, and you're going to be hearing from me." Anyway, she got fired after that. I phoned her boss, and they'd had so many complaints. Mine was just the straw that broke the camel's back. But yeah, she got fired. Some people are just in the wrong job. So she was not able to, I don't know what happened to her after that. I don't care. But she should not have been bullying new moms and making them cry. So yeah, I was so proud of that. I got rid of her. I hate bullies. Oh, I hate bullies. I really do. So ugly. That's why, like, when people come at me, nasty comments on here, I'm just, oh, it's just misery behind all that, right? I get that. But yeah, if I think someone, a victim, if I have any access to that bully, I'll do something about it. Ah, especially vulnerable people. Like, these were new moms. And new mom, I'm very protective of parents because I work with you guys, right? So can you imagine going in and being told that your kid had mental disability just because he cried when he didn't want to be measured? Could you imagine if I was an inexperienced mom and I was fragile and, vulnerable, which I wasn't, thank God. But could you imagine how that would make me feel? But that's what she was doing to moms. Boy, oh boy, I was mad. I'm definitely not a pleaser in the slightest. Yeah, the pleaser parent is the one who just wants to make life too easy for your kids, and they grow up with no strength, no fortitude, no confidence. And yeah, you got to teach your children how to manage their own problems. Like I always taught, I was never bullied. My kids were never bullied. I taught them how to handle bullies, and I said, "This is what you do." Um, so anyway, and I teach that a lot is bullying. That's in my course, how to handle bullies, because you got to teach your kids how to stand up for themselves rather than you going in and standing up for them. Because you want them to be problem solvers. You want them to be, because they're not. You're not always going to be around. And also, I didn't want my kids crying victim. I don't like whining and complaining at all. My mom had no tolerance for it. I didn't. I'd say, well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Oh, okay. It builds strength rather than saying, well, I'm going to go in and fix it. I wouldn't have done that. You want to build strong individuals. Yeah. 3-year-old bad behavior at daycare. That is, yeah, daycare. That is very difficult. It's a bit of a tell for me. When you're a good leader at home, by the age of 3 to 3.5, they're good everywhere. So it's a bit of a tell at that. When they're little, no. But when they're 3 to 3.5, when you're a leader at home, they respect you and they respect everybody. So it's just on the cusp of that. Maybe they're just still crazy because they're still got a lot of toddler in them. But 3 is, yeah, that's that turning point where if you're a leader, they don't do that. But they're just kind of almost there anyway. Kids today are unable to solve their own problems. There's a lot of whining, a lot of victimhood these days. That real woke stuff and everything. That is a direct result of the pleaser parenting style. Those are the adults who were raised by pleaser parents. And it's the lack of fortitude, the lack of, you know what, life isn't always fair. I'm just going to get on with it anyway. And rather than focusing on the negative, I would rather my kids focus on the positive. So, yeah. And I'm generalizing, of course, it's not all like that, but yeah. Okay, toddler hitting and throwing things. If they're under 3, it's consistent corrective action. You got to catch it every single time. Just make it a project and say, I'm going to stop this. Every single time they do that, you just grab them and you say no. Okay, so you got to be quick though. It's got to be like that. It's got to be every single time. It's going to be exhausting, but it's worth it. Then they're going to test out probably 2 weeks from now. They're going to try it again anyway. And then you got to be really consistent because they only learn through actions. Toddlers are not about words. Under the age of 3, they're not about words. Okay, they're all about actions, and it's got to be consistent because they learn through repetition. They don't learn the first time. They might learn the 150th time, but you got to be every single time. Can you give an overview of ODD? No one's asked me about that for a long time. They used to a lot. ODD is not a medical diagnosis. It's just an acronym. It's oppositional defiant disorder. Couldn't think of it. It's oppositional defiant disorder. It's an acronym, and more than one pediatrician has told me this because some of my clients are pediatricians, and they said it was an acronym invented to make moms feel better. But it just means that you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills, and they're not oppositional. It's just the way it's a tell. It means that you're not a leader. Work on yourself. Work on your leadership skills. If your kids are oppositional, that's on you, which is the best news you can get. You can only change yourself anyway. As soon as you're a leader, the quickest kids for me to turn around and get respect from are the most oppositional, difficult kids. Because it's almost like when they come up against a calm leader, they almost go like this. Oh, finally. Finally, I don't have to fight anymore. They don't want it. Kids naturally, instinctively need, crave, and want a leader. When they find one, they just calm right down. It's just the way it is. If you're not a leader, they're going to be very vulnerable, very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to look for leadership somewhere else. So you want to be the leader at home. Hi, Summer. Someone asked me to say hi. It's a cute name. One of my son's teacher, her name is Storm Shaw, and I've talked to her since. He's 33 now, but I've talked to her since about this back in Australia. Her name is Storm Shaw, and her kids also had like weather names, so it was really cute. She was a great teacher. She didn't take any crap. She knew what she was doing. She was a really good teacher. I would say, only 2 teachers that my kids have, I could have kicked to the curb. They didn't like kids. You could just tell. It was rare. Of all those teachers my kids have, there was only 2 of them. Well, okay. Isabel, teenager 17, name calling me and suddenly hates me now, then he moved to dad's. That's not a TikTok answer. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me because all my coaching is done on Zoom. So you'd have to hire me for that and we could discuss it. Teenagers are my specialty. They're my favorite age. And my least favorite age is toddlers because they're all feet, no brains. They're just exhausting, physically exhausting. They're cute as a button, though. We have to chase them around all the time and traveling with a toddler. God, we went from Australia to Canada with an 18-month-old. He didn't sleep for 24 hours. God. And when we finally got to Canada, he was like, his eyeballs were spinning. Oh my God. And he wasn't an overly active kid. He was gone. He was just out of it. Okay. 4.5-year-old doesn't listen until I yell, and I don't want it to get to that point. What do you do? Okay. Most parents yell. It's very rare that I'll get clients who don't yell. Most parents yell. My parents never did. I never did. We just weren't yellers because we're more leaders. But yelling is very, very common. It works in the short term. That's why you do it. But it backfires big time. So everything I teach is instead of yelling. If you want, the whole course is up there. It's on how to get respect in 5 weeks. Do not rush it. Do not go to week 4. Everyone wants week 4. You got to do week 1, 2, 3 first. But anyway, some parents have done that. They went right to week 4 and they said, you were right. It didn't work. And yeah, I know. Week 4 is when you don't use the behavior board. But the first 3 weeks of behavior board. Anyway, this goes into great detail about all that. But yeah, you want to get that sorted out. You're only yelling because you don't know what else to do. I teach what else to do. The course is for 3 to 12-year-olds. I have mini toddler courses though. If you're dealing with tantrums, potty training, or toddlers who hit, those are the 3 toddler courses I have. Oh my God, you're brave taking that flight. No, I wasn't brave. I was stupid. That's what I was. I was stupid. 18-month-old. Oh God, just thinking about it. He was a good kid. It was just didn't sleep for 24 hours. Okay. How do you be a leader? That's all I teach. There's a whole course on that if you're interested. There's like three different levels here. You get all this stuff. All this is free. All the lives are free. All my videos are free. And my behavior board's completely free. But then, or you can buy my course if you have a 3 to 12-year-old. Or the next level is coaching. Those two are quite close together. The behavior board can only get you so far, but lots of parents are getting great results on there. You start to get it. When you start using the behavior board, oh, I get it. Oh, I see. Things start to make sense when you use the behavior board. That I didn't have one. I've been teaching this now for 17 years. And when I first started my business, the first year I didn't have a behavior board because I've never used one. I didn't need to use one. And parents weren't getting the results I thought they should because I was telling them I was teaching what I did. I don't do that because I got respect when my kids were tiny, so I never used a behavior board. But then I thought, how on earth am I going to teach this to parents? And I thought, oh, a behavior board and put them on it too. There's a rule and a consequence for you too. If you're not on that behavior board, you're not a leader. You're an authority figure. I don't do that. Leaders are accountable. You're teaching your kids through watching you. You're modeling what you want from them. My kids loved it when I messed up. If I messed up, they would look at each other like this because they knew. And as soon as they do that, I go, "Oh crap! What do you want?" Because I knew I'd have to make amends. I'd have to make it up to them. So yeah, you got to be accountable too. It changed everything. My whole business, everything just got easier after that. Because I'm teaching parents how to be accountable and how to be a leader using that behavior board. But like I said, I never used one. But it's a great it's a teaching tool, and it just explains it so well. But you got to be on there too. If you're not on there, sometimes I'll get a parent who doesn't want to be on there, and I say, fine, I won't work with you. I'll work with the other parent. So you can just leave the room now. If they are not willing to be on that behavior board, that says a lot about them. But yeah, I've had some really rough sessions with clients. I won't go into it, but sometimes, especially when they've got teenagers they're at war with, they often don't want to do what I say they have to do. And I put my foot down. I say, well, do you want your money back then? Because you have to give before you get. And I mean, you have to give a lot before you get. And parents are so hurt by what their teenagers have done to them often. And it's very hard for them to open their heart and give. And that's the first step. It's hard. I feel for them. I really do. I feel for them. But I got to do what I got to do. So um, it's worth it. Okay, actually, it's been over an hour now, so I got to get going. I've got a brand new webcam here, so I'm sorry, I know YouTube looks horrendous. I look like a talking head. I'll figure out all the lighting and all that because I've got things it's all brand new. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you go on the link above, that's everything I've got to offer. And it's all in bullet point form. I'll be back on my regularly scheduled ones are tonight, 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights, my time, Pacific time. That's Vancouver and Los Angeles, California, that time. And then also Saturday morning at 10, my time. So that's Pacific time. Anyway, and then I pop up. Whenever I've got some spare time and I feel like relaxing, I turn up for a live. And I never know when that's going to happen aside from those two. So thanks for joining me, and we'll talk again next time. Bye now.